Hey, welcome back, podcast friends. And in today's episode, I want to just hit right on the topic of why do most people not eat healthy? And there's actually many reasons why this happens. But first, before we even talk about that, we need to talk about why do people eat or why do we get hungry? And actually, that's two different questions. And I never thought about this until I was working in the hospital because remember I've worked in the hospital system for the last 30 years as a doctor of pharmacy, a clinical pharmacist. And one thing that we would do is we would assess patients if they came in and they're very, very sick with an infection or something. When they're sick, their body is not hungry. They don't feel good. And the reason why this is because when your body is sick, it takes a lot of energy and nutrients to get your body healthy again. So what happens, since it takes so much energy to get your body healthy, what your body does is it shunts all the blood away from your GI tract, away from your stomach and your intestines, so it can have more blood going to the area of the infection so they can take care of it. But as the infection starts getting better and better, then all of a sudden the body starts healing and the body starts shunting blood back to the gut again. So when you're shunting the blood away from the gut, you're not healthy. When you shunt the blood to the gut, you start getting healthy again. So hunger is one of the things that we use to assess, at least in pediatrics. That's what we would assess if someone was getting better or not, is if all of a sudden they started having an appetite again. Okay, that's good. That means they're shunting the blood. But when I started going over and started looking at some of the adult patients, this isn't the case anymore because a lot of adult patients, they eat whether they're hungry or not. They just eat for other reasons, just because just out of habit is the most common one. Just out of habit, they're so used to eating all this man-made, ultra-processed food that doesn't give you any nutrients that it also doesn't keep you feeling full for very long. So you get in the habit of eating like every 2 to 3 hours, you have to be putting something in your mouth. So we found that that wasn't a very good way to assess whether a patient's getting more healthy or not in the hospital just because they ate something. However, with the pediatric patients, a lot of time this is still valid. But the biggest thing, just like I said, a big reason why people tend to eat is just out of habit. They are so used to eating the types of food that doesn't give the body any nutrients. And so the body makes them be hungry again. Because the reason why the body elicits a hunger signal is because it's missing some vital nutrients. Okay. That's why you get hungry. The body needs nutrients in order to be able to grow, heal, thrive, and survive. So if it doesn't have these nutrients, it sends a hunger signal to your body, to your stomach. So what happens is when you eat all the time, you kind of forget that the signal is for nutrients. And when you eat man-made food and you don't get any nutrients, you'll eat it. It gets broken down very quickly and it gets out of the stomach, gets in the intestine, gets into the blood very quickly. But then in about a couple hours later, the body realizes you just ate, but you didn't eat anything with nutrients in it. So the body sends out another hunger signal. So what do most people do? They reach for the same nutrient void, man-made, ultra-processed stuff that's in box, bottle, bag, can, chips, cookies, crackers, soda pop, fruit juice, frozen pizzas, whatever they're eating that has no nutrients in it. And so they keep on this vicious cycle of put something in your mouth, you don't satisfy your nutrients, and so your body makes you hungry again. So you eat something else, has no nutrients, so your body makes you hungry again. So the key is when you eat, one, if you're trying to eat healthy and you find that you're hungry, you need to really assess, are you truly hungry or do you just think that you're hungry because of all the habits that you've built up until now? So you can do things like drink water. A lot of times when your body sends you a hunger signal, it may actually be sending you a thirst signal because your body, you can't distinguish the two. So sometimes you may think you're hungry when really you're just thirsty. The body is just asking for water because water is a vital nutrient. It has to have water. Um, so that's one thing you can do. If you get hungry and you know it's only been a few hours since you've eaten and you ate a good meal, a good nutritious meal the first time, try to drink some water or some unsweetened coffee or some unsweetened tea, because a lot of times caffeine can also kind of settle down that hunger. If that doesn't work, try to distract yourself. Just go do a hobby, get into your work, read a book, go outside and work in the garden, whatever you like to do. Just distract yourself, and you'll find that it doesn't take very long. You distract yourself, and in about 5 or 10 minutes later, you're going to be like, oh, I forgot I was hungry. I'm not hungry anymore. So a lot of it is just habit. And so that's what you need to be able to break yourself of these habits. But another reason why people eat all the time is because you have been the food companies have made you addicted. They've made you addicted to their food for a specific reason, because they are a business. They want your money. And so they feed you food that gives you no nutrients. So you're hungry constantly. So you keep giving your money to those foods. What your body is really needing is it needs vital nutrients, vital essential nutrients, meaning your body doesn't make them. You have to get them from the outside. These nutrients, and there's basically 5 main nutrients that your body needs. It needs amino acids. Amino acids are just the basic building blocks of all proteins. Okay. So you have to have protein. And I've talked about this in several past podcasts, but you have to have protein. The other thing your body needs is fatty acids like omega-3 and omega-6. These are essential. Your body doesn't make them. You have to get them from the outside. So you have to have fat. You have to eat protein. You have to eat fat and cholesterol. You also have to have vitamins, and you have to have minerals, and you have to have water. Those 5 things: amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, and water. If you do not give your body these things, your body will constantly be hungry. When you eat man-made food, all these things in the box, bottle, bag, and can, in the central aisles of the grocery store, there are no nutrients in that. It's basically all just sugar. It's glucose. So you've got these ultra-processed grains, which just breaks down into glucose. That's all it is. So if you have trouble with glucose, like if you're a diabetic, all you got to do is quit eating all these plant-based foods and all this man-made food, because that's all you're doing is putting glucose in your body. It's kind of crazy to be hungry, put glucose in your body constantly, and then take medication to bring your glucose down, and then eat more glucose, and then take more medication. That is a crazy thing to do, but that's exactly what people do. And that's exactly what people are being told to do. They're told that if you are a diabetic, you need to have these carbohydrates so you can assess how much insulin to give yourself, and yada, yada, yada. And it's absolutely ludicrous what's going on here. So if you're having trouble with glucose, or if you're having any kind of disease at all, you really need to stay away from all this man-made products. And remember, thirst. A lot of times when you think you're hungry, you're really only thirsty. When you're addicted, I actually did a podcast on this about why the food companies are getting you addicted and how they did it. And it's in podcast number 66 and 67 on your carbohydrate addiction is by design. But basically, they have been taught that they need to do the 5 A's of addiction, which means availability, affordability, age, advertising, and addictive substances. And that's what they do. Availability, they make their ultra processed food available everywhere. You can get it in any vending machine, anywhere, stores, middle out of the store, convenience stores, conference room tables, everything. Affordability, they make this stuff very, very cheap because there's no nutrients in it. It's all chemicals. It's chemicals to make you think that you like the taste of this food. So they make it very cheap. They make it to where any age, they even put the same toxic ingredients they put in adult food, they put in infant formulas as well. So when you're eating this fake infant formula, you're getting the same thing: ultra processed grains, sugar and high fructose corn syrup, and vegetable and seed oils. They put it in everything. And then they advertise. They advertise out the wazoo. They advertise everywhere. So remember, and I've said it in other podcasts, 75% of all the advertising money comes from drug companies. And of the other 25%, 15% comes from the food companies. So they know how important advertising is. And then they put addictive substances in it. What addictive substances? Like we've been saying, it's sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Everybody loves this, and sugar is extremely addicting. It lights up your pleasure center of your brain, called the nucleus accumbens. It lights up the nucleus accumbens same way cocaine does. Okay, sugar is extremely addictive. So they put that in everything. Sugar and high fructose corn syrup, same thing. They put vegetable and seed oils in everything. And they also put these grains, these ultra processed grains in everything, which is your glucose. So they make you addicted to their stuff. So, so that's another reason. So one, people tend to eat because they're getting the hunger signals from their stomach, which remember, sometimes that hunger is actually thirst. They also eat bad food because they're addicted to it. Then they also do it because of taste, and that's part of the addiction. Remember, most people think that if something isn't sweet, it doesn't taste good. That's how brainwashed and that's how horrible we have made ourselves by eating all this man-made food. We have fallen into their trap of thinking that sugar is the only thing that tastes good. Once you can get that out of your mind and say, no, sugar, if it tastes sweet, it truly is poison. It truly is a toxin to your body. And you can tell by all the diseases that we see now that they put sugar in everything. And remember, back in 1965, we only ate about the average of 1 to 2 teaspoons of sugar per person per day. In 2015, that had gone up to over 65 teaspoons of sugar per person per day that we're eating. And that was in 2015. So now we're 10 years after that. And I guarantee we're eating a lot more sugar now because it is everywhere in everything. And that is a big reason why we have all the diseases that we have right now. So don't fall for the chemical taste. Don't fall for the taste of sugar and thinking that that's what tastes good. You should be recondition your mind to think that is toxin. That's a poison, and don't put it in your mouth. The other reason people eat is just feelings. They're either bored or they're stressed or they're having a great time and this is a way to celebrate. And so they tend to just eat whatever's handy. And that's a big problem. You have to be able to be prepared for these situations. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And we'll really talk about it in the next podcast. And also just being with friends and family. That's another reason why people like to eat. They have big friends and family have these big get-togethers and everybody brings all their food. That does not mean that you have to eat all this toxic food. There are very, very good, healthy foods that you can eat as well. And I'll talk about those as well. But the biggest thing of why people do this is just, as I've kind of alluded to, it's just lack of knowledge. People just really don't know what is nutrition for the body and what is just something that you're putting in your mouth, because they think that the hunger signal just means their stomach needs something in it and it doesn't matter what it gets. And that could not be further from the truth. The hunger signal is telling the person to eat the nutrients that the body needs. It's crazy. And I know I've said this before, but it's crazy that human beings are the only animal on the entire planet that has to be told what to eat. Every other animal, every insect, everything knows exactly what to eat without being told. And we used to know, as we were going through our centuries until man started producing food. And once man started making this artificial food, then they started confusing everybody, saying that their food is healthy and you need to stay away from animal products. They're horrible. They're going to cause disease and inflammation. And it's a lie. It is an outright lie. The reason they do that is they want you to eat their product because they are a business and they know exactly how to make trillions of dollars off of you eating their food and you getting sick. So when you get sick, now you can go to the other trillion-dollar industry of the drug companies. But if you don't eat their food, then you don't have to worry about the medications. And so both of them, the drug companies and the food companies, hopefully would pretty much go away. But anyway, and this comes from me, a doctor of pharmacy, and I believed all this stuff too. I was brainwashed all the way through. I didn't realize the importance of nutrition. All I knew about medication is how to treat the different symptoms that people come in with their disease states. Never were we told about how to actually prevent or reverse disease states like diabetes. Diabetes, people are taking all kinds of medication for diabetes, and if they would just change what they ate and went to animal-based foods, most people, and I know this for a fact because I know people who have done this, within about 6 weeks, these people have been on diabetic medications for years, for decades. In about 6 weeks of just eating nothing but animal products, they're off all their medications and their blood glucose is perfect. Their A1C is perfect. This tells me, and this should tell you, and it definitely told them, that it is because of what we eat is what's causing these illnesses, and especially with type 2 diabetes. That is the disease of nutrition. So, um, so the main thing you want to do is you need to give your body those vital nutrients that we talked about. And again, those are amino acids from protein, fatty acids from fat, vitamins and minerals, which you get all the vitamins, all the minerals that your body needs out of animal products. If you eat a good ribeye steak with all the fat on it and good marbling, you're going to get all the vitamins and all the minerals that you need. You do not ever have to put a plant-based food in your mouth. If you do, one, make sure it's real fruit and a real vegetable, okay? Not this man-made stuff. And when you do it, make sure you eat the fruit or eat the vegetable. Do not drink them, because once you spin those down and you into a liquid, you've already wiped out a lot of the things that's actually going to be good about the vegetables, fruits or vegetables. And again, you don't even need them because you can get them all from the animal foods that you eat. But anyway, the other reason why people tend to not eat healthy is because they're told that it's so expensive to eat healthy. We've got to break this down. This is not necessarily true. Yes, their healthy food will cost more money than ultra processed food for great reasons. It takes a lot more to raise an animal, to feed an animal, to keep it in healthy situations. So when it's time to go to slaughter so you can eat it, it costs a lot more. Plus, the government doesn't give hardly any subsidies to the animal farmers. They give almost 90% of all the subsidies that our government, the food money that our government gives to food companies, it goes to food companies on soy, corn, and wheat. Those three products are taking up 90% of all the money that goes out. And the reason why is because that money goes into what's making the man-made food. These ultra-processed grains, the corn for the sugar and the high fructose corn syrup, these ultra-processed grains for all the the corn and the wheat, or the wheat and the soy for all these other ultra processed grains. That's why it's very, very cheap to do ultra processed foods, because it's all chemicals. There's no nutrients. You're not getting the nutrients that you get with a good animal based food. You're just getting a bunch of toxins, a bunch of chemicals. And remember, when you eat nutrients, when your body is hungry and you give your body nutrients, true nutrients, your body's not going to be asking for more. So when you eat healthy, when you eat good animal-based products or real fruit, real vegetables, I call it God-made food, single ingredient. You're not going to see a label on a fruit or on a vegetable or on meat. Okay, they're single ingredient foods that have a lot of nutrients in it. When you eat that, your body doesn't keep sending out that signal for new nutrients. So you eat fewer times during the day. Now, it may take a while for you to get used to this, because again, people are so addicted to eating all the time, every 2 to 3 hours. If you eat a good, say, ribeye steak, 3 hours later, you're not going to be eating another ribeye steak. And if you do, 3 hours later, you're not going to be eating another one. Okay. Because your body has the nutrients it needs, so it knows to settle down. It's getting the amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, and water that you need to be giving it. When you give it all this ultra processed foods, you're not giving anything, so you're hungry all the time. You're constantly eating. So yes, and again, you don't have to eat really expensive. You could just get hamburger. If you just eat hamburger versus a frozen pizza, a hamburger is going to give you the vitamins, the minerals, the protein, the fatty acids that your body needs. If you're just eating a frozen pizza that's just made of a bunch of these chemicals and little tiny pieces of fruits and vegetables and all the stuff that goes into their fruit and vegetables with all the pesticides and herbicides and fungicides and everything else, you're going to be a lot more satisfied with that hamburger. And the hamburger, you can get a pound of really nice grass-fed, grass-finished beef for only about $1 more a pound than you can regular ground beef. But even regular ground beef, that's even going to be better than this ultra processed food. So you don't have to get the best of the best when you go out there. You're just confusing yourself. Just go out and eat. Say, does this come from an animal or does this come from a plant? Because that's the only two. Now, when I say plants, I actually mean like fruits and vegetables. plants like manufacturing plants that are all these chemical based foods that is in all these bottles and bags and cans. That's not food at all. But the other thing, as far as cost, you also have to remember people who eat most of their meals from animal based foods, these people are healthier. They don't go to the doctors. They aren't on medications. They don't go to the hospitals. People who eat all these ultra processed food have all kinds of diseases because that's what's causing disease. The diseases are called by the three pillars: high insulin levels, high inflammation in the body, and high blood glucose levels. All three of those, when you put those three together, that is like dynamite that just blows up every organ in your body. And all three of those are caused from man-made food. So if you're thinking about how much money you spend, you need to look at how much money do you spend on medications that you take every week? How much money do you spend on going to the doctors, however often you go? How much money do you spend on the hospital, however often you go? Because that also needs to be factored in the cost of your ultra processed foods. So if you are eating the things that make your glucose goes up, which is all this plant-based food and specifically all this man-made food, when you eat these things, your glucose goes up. That means your insulin goes up. That means all of a sudden it makes your glucose go down, and that's going to make you hungry again. When you get hungry again, what do? You eat the same stuff. You reach for a bag of chips, a bag of cookies, a bag of anything, and you're on this never-ending cycle. And when you continue to do that, continue to keep your glucose high, so you continue to keep your insulin level high, then now you're going to end up on medications. And this is where you start running into all the trouble with all the disease states that you get, because it affects everything. You get heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, brain disease, bone and joint disease, inflammation. It causes everything when you eat this kind of food. And again, you don't have to eat, the full organic, grass-fed, grass-finished beef or pasture-raised chicken and eggs or wild-caught fish. That's great if you can. That's great. That's even better. But you don't have to. You can just eat regular ground beef that you're going to get, or the regular chicken, or the regular eggs. Any of that is still way better than having all these ultra-processed foods. And you got to remember, when we're talking about, a lot of people think they picture, oh, these poor cows or these poor pigs or these poor chickens that are all just side by side, in these little things. And it's so horrible what they do. You're right. That is horrible what they do to those animals. And it's horrible that that's the kind of food that they tend to feed us. Okay. However, that is still better than all these chemicals that these food manufacturers are putting in our foods. These little organizations, these concentrated animal farms, what they are, it's called CAFOs. It's a CAFO, stands for Concentrated Animal Feeding Operations. And you're right, that isn't good, because when these cows are all there next to each other and they're going to the bathroom, and then they're eating the stuff of the bathroom of the cow that ate in front of them, or the pig or the chicken, they're getting all these toxins in their food too. It's still better than man-made food, but by far you would rather have the organic, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, the ones that stay out there, the ones that are raised on with regenerative farming, where they know how to farm. They don't use any chemicals on their farms. They don't use it on their vegetables. They don't use it on the plants. They don't use it on the grass. So yes, that is better. However, it still is, even if you don't go that expensive, okay, keep it cheap until you figure out that, oh, I'm only eating 1 or 2 times a day now, where I used to eat every 2 to 3 hours. When you start adding up all the money you spend on all this ultra processed food, and I know we've said this before, but it really did happen. When my wife and I were in Walmart one time, and we were scanning out the self scanner, and right next to us was a father and his teenage son. And the teenage son, when they got done, he's like, "Are you kidding? We spent over $100 just on food." And my wife and I looked over in the cart, and there was no food in that cart. There was no food. There was chips, crackers, cookies, frozen pizzas, skim milk, fruit juices, soda pop. I mean, no nutrients. There were no nutrients in that cart whatsoever. So yeah, if you take that $100 that you're spending or over on this non-nutritive food and you put that on real healthy food, food that you're only going to eat maybe 2 or maybe 3 times a day, but usually 2 when you're really eating healthy, you don't get hungry because you're giving your body the nutrients it needs. You're going to be amazed at how little you are spending on truly eating. And then there's other things you can do, like if you can save up and afford to buy a quarter of a beef or a side of beef or a full beef and have all the meat you need for an entire year in a freezer downstairs, and you're done. And we've done this, and we get steaks, we get sirloin steaks, ribeye steaks, a ton of ground beef. We get everything for an average of about $6 a pound. You can't even find plain ground beef for around $6 a pound anymore. So there really is a good way to eat cheap and eat healthy at the same time. But the other thing that people do, because they're not really sure what constitutes healthy eating, which I've already told you, it's eating animal-based products. Basically, that's really what you need to do. But they start thinking, well, if you eat healthy food tastes bad. I don't want to eat rice cakes and salads. Well, first, rice cakes and salads are not healthy. Rice cakes definitely not healthy. There's all kinds of chemicals in that. And salads, remember when we talk about the nutrients, you need amino acids, which is the building block of protein. Yes, plants do have some protein, not very much. I mean, think how much protein you're getting in a salad versus a ribeye steak or even a hamburger. Okay. So you don't get very much protein at all. Fat, if you're eating a salad, you're not getting any fat unless you put something good like an avocado on there, or if you put like olive oil on it, a good oil. But most people put these horrible toxic salad dressings that's made by the food companies that have sugar and high fructose corn syrup, and they also have these vegetable and seed oils in them. Okay, so those are not good at all. And don't be swayed by the little thing on the front that says, "Oh, this is healthy, made with real avocado oil." Because if you turn around and look at the ingredients, you're going to see one of the first ingredients is probably going to be a vegetable oil or soybean oil or something. And down the very, very bottom of the ingredient list, now you're going to see where they put avocado oil. It's like they just whiffed it over just to say it's in there. And then they advertise it on the front to make you think it's healthy, and it is not. Okay. So that's one thing. The food companies they're trying to confuse you by saying that they have this, fiber enriched or vitamin enriched food, which I talked about that in the last podcast. They just say that because they take all the vitamins and minerals and all the fiber out to begin with, and then they add a little bit back in to make it look like they're having a healthy meal, and it is not. The other thing you can do when you're shopping, if you want to shop healthy, is just shop the perimeter of the store. Shop the perimeter. That's where you're going to find your deli. Yeah, that may not be the greatest quality of meats, but it's definitely going to be better than anything in the box, bottle, bag, and can you're going to find in the middle of the store. You're going to find your actual meat department. You're going to find your produce department. You're going to find your dairy department that has real full fat milk, real full fat Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, and you want the fat. Do not fall for this fat-free or low-fat scam that we've been taught for the last 50 years, because that's exactly what it is. And now we have 50 years of data to prove that was a scam. Fat does not make you fat. Carbohydrates, which means plant-based foods, is what makes you fat. And what these food companies do is as they take the fat, if you match a salad dressing from a full fat salad dressing to a low fat salad dressing to a fat free, the exact same company, the exact same brand, and you look at the back, you're going to see that as they take the fat out, they increase the amount of sugar that's in there. And that's on purpose. They want you addicted. They want to tell you fat's bad so they can keep giving you their sugar and their toxin chemical laced food, so you keep getting their food and they keep getting richer and richer as you're getting sicker and sicker. So shop the perimeter. Don't even go down the middle aisles of the grocery store. And there's all kinds of things. When you're trying to eat healthy, really all you have to do is take any meal that you like and say, now what's unhealthy about this? And what's unhealthy about it is going to be anything that's carbohydrate, anything that's processed. If you're talking about noodles, shells, taco shells, bread, pasta, that is the stuff that is unhealthy. So to make it easy, and we have all kinds of things. My wife, she makes a great Mexican casserole. There's no carbohydrates in it at all. It's hamburger, it's sausage, it's a good salsa. You can put jalapenos in it. You can have tomato in it. You can have cheese in it, real cheese. You get sour cream. All that is perfectly fine. Just don't eat the shells. So we do as a Mexican casserole. She makes a great lasagna, the same thing. All the lasagna, the only thing bad in a lasagna, depending on what kind of sauce you use, is the noodles that separates the divisions. So we just take the noodles out and replace that with deli chicken. So we just put a layer of chicken on there and it still keeps the lasagna in layers, and you got rid of the carbohydrate and you replace it with protein. Taco bowls. We'll do a taco bowl. Instead of having shells, we'll mix up all the hamburger or sausage or whatever you want. You can even do refried beans if you want to, depending on where you are, because that is some carbohydrates. But especially if you ferment them, if you soak your beans overnight and then you make your own refried beans, it's going to be a lot better for you to do that. But then once you do that, we put it in a bowl, and then everything else you would put on taco: lettuce, tomato, onions, sour cream, salsa, all that stuff. That's fine. You just got rid of the shell. And same thing with spaghetti. There's all kinds of healthy spaghetti out there that's made with protein. It's mainly protein spaghetti. It's not going to be all this processed spaghetti. Hamburgers. Hamburgers are great. When we go have hamburgers, I'll order a hamburger and I'll order a double patty. I'll even order an egg on it and bacon on it a lot of times, or mushrooms or whatever. That's all fine. Just get rid of the bun. And don't eat any of the fried foods. Don't eat French fries, because that also is in soybean oil or these vegetable oils, because that's what's cheap. So that's what these restaurants use, is these vegetable and seed oils. So instead of doing that, maybe get some sauteed broccoli, or something like that, which actually is very, very good. So you can have the full hamburger and steamed broccoli and have a perfectly wonderful meal, and it's healthy because you didn't do the potatoes, you didn't do the vegetable and seed oils that cooks the potatoes, and you're not doing the bun. So there's all kinds of ways. There's steaks, there's Greek yogurt, eggs of any kind, whatever eggs you want. Eggs are great, cottage cheese, regular cheese, full butter, real fat butter. Don't get this fake butter. Your oils, you can have the fruit oil. Stay away from vegetable oils, but fruit oils like olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil, those are all perfectly healthy. And then you can eat also, if you want to fry food, fry it in tallow or lard. Lard is pig fat, and tallow is basically beef fat. Okay. But that stuff is fine. You can eat that. And it's easy to find. So that's it. There are ways to eat healthy. There's ways to eat healthy that is not expensive. And again, remember, when you eat healthy, you're giving your body nutrients, so it doesn't make you hungry all the time. So you usually only eat probably about 2 to at the most 3 meals a day. That's all you're going to eat. And you're not going to be doing all the snacking in between, because you're not in the habit of eating all the time like you are when you eat this ultra processed food that has no nutrients in it. And then last thing is the time. They say it takes too much time to eat healthy. First off, that's not necessarily true. If you're going out to eat or something, you can eat a good meal for the exact same amount of time that you can eat a bad meal. But even at home, that's actually a good thing. If you listen to my past podcast, you know that when you eat, it's very, very important. Your food gets digested much better if you are in a relaxed state, you're calm, you're sitting down, you're visiting with family, visiting with friends, doing something relaxing. And that allows your GI tract to work to its best efficiency, is when you're relaxed and you're eating. You shouldn't be eating while you're up, walking around, talking in a meeting, stressed out, driving a car. Those are not good times to be eating. Your body doesn't process all the nutrients out of your food that well when you do it that way. Yeah, it may be quicker to heat and eat or to go through a drive-through, but really, if you can learn how to cook meals at home, yes, you can eat healthy at any restaurant you go to. Almost any restaurant you go to, you're going to be able to find something that's mainly animal-based, and that's going to be what you're going to want to look for. But it's very important that when you eat at home, this is even a bonding moment. If you want to eat something sweet, if you want to have pudding or cake or something, don't go buy it from a store. Get the ingredients, the actual ingredient, and sit there and make it with your child and teach them how to make this. When you make these things, you're not going to be eating them as often, and you're going to appreciate it so much more, other than just going and grabbing a cake and come home and everybody split a cake or whatever you do. So don't do that. If you do want something, make it at home. Make it an enjoyable, knowledgeable, learning experience for your child. Um, the other thing, if you're going to be going out to parties, things like that, plan ahead. And the next podcast is all going to be on planning, how you can plan to become very successful in your weight loss program. Because planning is everything. If you know you're going to a party and you know there's nothing that's going to be good there to eat before you go. Or take something that you know you can eat. That way you can eat your food, and then other people can eat on your food as well. You don't have to eat what they brought just because they brought it. So the biggest thing with eating unhealthy when you go out is lack of preparation. And this is going to take a whole podcast on itself, is different ways that you can prepare yourself for success in your weight loss program. Don't be caught with not having a plan, and you're driving down, you've been at work, stressful meeting, you got home, got off late, you don't have time to go home and cook anything, so you just drive past the first fast food you come to, and you just scarf down all these toxins. That is not what you want to do. So we're going to teach you how to plan ahead so you don't get in those kind of situations. So again, I know I've gone over a little bit here, but I just wanted you to let you know that there is a big difference between being hungry and eating. So you really want to make sure that when you eat your food, eat nutrient-based foods that fill you up, and it will keep you from having a hunger signal. And good luck. I hope this helps. And that's all I have for now. So as always, I'll see you next week. Have a fantastic week. And as always, make simple, healthy choices to live a quality life.